Not.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Wait.
Typical questions.
Oh yeah, we are.
Yeah.
It's that little delay that shows it on YouTube. So
after 34 weeks, we still are asking ourselves the question: hey guys,
are we live?
Are we live? We live yet?
Are we?
Yes.
Shows you how professional DJs are.
Well, cheers, all you guys again, and good to see y'all. Yeah. The whole group is back.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
We actually have a lot to celebrate.
Oh shoot! First of all, you're back from Dubai. Let's celebrate this.
I'm back home, and I'm happy to be back home. I know it was a bit noisy the last time I was, with you guys. But it was a good show, right? Because we had a couple of surprise guests that I surprised you guys even with.
We all were surprised.
Which can be a dangerous thing at times, right?
It can be dangerous, but I think I assumed that everybody was cool with those guys, you know?
Yeah. I've only met Joseph, man, like a couple of times, not really met him very much, but yeah, I got no beef with anyone.
I mean, yeah, there's nice guys in our industry. Of course, there's lots of nice guys. And then there's like straight up assholes like Dave Clark, like someone like that, probably not a good idea to surprise us with, right?
Shots fired.
I'll make a note of that, Ali.
He's actually going to be he's the secret guest on today's show.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. We can roast him.
I'm going to make that happen.
Yeah.
So
you should imagine a DJs and Beers roast.
Yeah. We kind of do that on a weekly basis though, don't we?
I think it's really light.
We tend to take light pot shots at one another.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah.
You just didn't really take a light shot. That was
I see a Facebook post coming up.
Yeah, you gotta start on the right footing.
Is that why you're wearing combat clothes today?
Everything happens for a reason, Chris.
Are you in a certain mood? Yeah, we have to celebrate something else too, right? Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
We have a lot to celebrate. I'll start off by celebrating the fact that 9 Inch Nails, not that it means anything, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but it's a big fucking deal. 9 Inch Nails and Depeche Mode have made the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So
yeah,
toast to our heroes.
Congratulations, 9 Inch Nails, Depeche Mode. You did it.
Yep.
Not that I needed it. Actually, Mo's good friend, and he's a good friend of mine too by now, Alessandro Cortini. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame now too with 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah, congrats,
he's the keyboarder.
Much love, dude.
Well, you guys are friends with him?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a good bud.
Does he still live in LA? No.
He moved to Berlin.
A
while ago, but I think he's up and about to leave Berlin this week. He's moving again, so
Damn.
What does he do in the band? What instrument does he play?
He's kind of popped around and played different roles, mostly keyboards, but he kind of switches roles between playing bass guitar and guitar as well. So, yeah.
One of the best sounding concerts I've ever been to in my life was the last Nine Inch Nails like series of shows that they did at the Palladium in LA. It was.
Yeah, I was actually at the Palladium show as well. It was a good show.
Oh, you went? Wow.
Yeah.
The one I went with you, Mo, at the Hollywood Bowl. That one sounded really good.
No, we went to one in Vegas, didn't we?
No, it was at the Hollywood Bowl, dude.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
I don't know, maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I thought that one sounded great too.
Yeah, I mean, dude, as far as a live band goes, they sound incredible. I mean, that goes saying Depeche Mode's an incredible live performance as well. So both of them is well deserved.
And way overdue, I think.
I've actually seen Depeche Mode with Chris at the Hollywood Bowl a few times.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a good show.
But Nine Inch Nails sounded so good, and you could tell they, went to great lengths to make sure they did, that it extended to the Jesus and Mary Chain, who were opening.
Yeah.
That was, and I've seen the Jesus and Mary Chain since the tour that they did for their second album, Darklands.
Yeah.
And then I saw them a bunch of times after that, and they always sounded horrible. Like they didn't sound like, I was always disappointed, but this time, all these years later, they sounded incredible.
Yeah, that was kind of a special tour too, because Nine Inch Nails got their start opening for the Jesus and Mary Chain, so it was like all these years later, and the roles are kind of switched too.
Yeah, I saw Nine Inch Nails at a tiny club in Washington D.C. Before the first album came out, and they were opening for Trent was opening for Meat Beat Manifesto.
Oh, classic!
Wow.
That would have been a great show to be at. I never had a chance to see Meat Beat Manifesto live, and they're like heroes of mine.
I'll never forget, like at 930 Club, the old 930 Club in Washington, D.C., there's like this back room that everybody chills out at. And then there's like the room that the bands play. And everybody is usually hanging in the back room during the, the opening band, except for like the hardcore people that love the opening band or whatever. And nobody had really heard of Nine Inch Nails. There was a few things in the press that had leaked out about how great they were and how great the album is. As soon as they went on, within like 10 minutes, nobody was in the back room. Everybody was like completely transfixed with Trent and the band and how good they sounded. And then I remember seeing Jack Dangers, the main guy behind Meat Beat Manifesto, just walking around the crowd, like with this look on his face like, fuck, what? I think we made a mistake having this guy. And I think he was doing like the whole tour,
Yeah.
Since we're at these two bands, everyone, the favorite album of both bands. Shall I start? It's really difficult. It's really difficult with Nine Inch Nails. I say it's With Teeth. It's controversial. That's my opinion, but I just love that album. And with Depeche Mode, I could name every album, but if I had to pick one, it probably would be Faith and Devotion.
Yeah.
And you guys?
Nine Inch Nails. I'm the commercial guy with Downward Spiral.
I still have.
I don't really grow up listening to these types of bands.
That's not commercial at all. That is probably one of the most incredible albums. I think
Closer was on that, right? Closer.
Yeah, that's why I said that's what I mean, because
But that's not a commercial song by any means. And the video
that was played on the radio. I mean, I guess commercial in a sense that it was like on the radio all day, every day. I remember.
It's the obvious choice.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
I mean, that's a great example. Closer is a great example of something that, kind of like, I'm sure Nirvana with Smells Like Teen Spirit, they didn't think that was a commercial song, and probably, the first time anyone heard it didn't think it was going to be so big.
Yeah.
But it's such a well-written song, and it's produced so well that it transcended the confines of the underground, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that kind of shifted the whole grunge rock scene, I think.
Well, I'll say for me, Downward Spiral is probably one of the top 5 albums I would take to a deserted island for me. That album shaped me as a musician, a producer, and the way I perceived albums and how albums and music is put together. It's probably easily one of the top 5 most influential pieces of music of my life. So I would definitely pick Downward Spiral. And as far as Depeche Mode goes, I love all the classic stuff, but I really love Playing the Angel.
Nice.
That fucking album to me when it came out, that album's incredible. I love that entire thing. Every single song on it like reaches to me.
What was the big hit from that? Like the first single? Or
Dream On is on there, right?
No, what's it called? Morning Star?
Precious?
No, not Precious. I don't remember which one was the single. Was there a single on that particular album?
Yeah, there's always a single.
It was The Darkest Star, that track that I love the most. And who did the remix? Somebody did a remix of it, and it was an incredible remix. I have to look it up because I still actually play it from time to time till today.
Chris has this look on his face like he's having the best Depeche Mode flashbacks ever.
But off that album,
I haven't seen that look on your face in a long time, Chris.
If I had that flashback, I would be like gone for hours now.
Yeah.
Dean Paul called it out in the comments. It was Nathan Fake. Nathan Fake did a remix of that track.
Right.
That was incredible. But also, the Sinner in Me was a great track on that album too. Yeah. Which had
James Holden did a remix of that, didn't he? Did he do James Holden do Sinner in Me?
Yeah, James Holden did it as well.
Yeah, but it's all about that Villa Lobos mix that never came out.
Yeah, true.
You know what's funny about that remix is like it's just not done well, but it's so effective. Like it just works for some reason. It's like out of key, you know, or in key, depending on how high you are when you're listening to it.
So was it like a remix that was just distributed amongst DJs or something, or?
Yeah, I think it was bootlegged and it's done the rounds, but I don't think there was never an official release as far as.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I think they didn't approve it in the end, but Ricardo felt really strongly about it, and maybe some of the other people that were working the record felt really strongly about it, so they just kind of let it float out there. I mean, I remember Sharam and I did a remix for Depeche Mode for Free Love, and it was just promoed. And the band or whoever was doing the A&R, I don't know if it was Daniel or somebody else, they didn't approve it because of how time stretched the vocals were. Because it was
that's the thing that I mentioned is like I know Ricardo's mix as well, and he abused a little bit Dave Gahan's vocal, and that's the one thing. If you're asked to do a Depeche Mode remix, they basically tell you, do not fuck around with Dave Gahan's vocal.
Totally.
Because they don't like it, and that's sometimes the reason why you get refused.
I've heard the same. It was us tampering with the vocal.
Yeah.
So.
Bad mistake.
Divas, man, divas.
But what else do we have to celebrate? It's Mo has to celebrate something. You want to tell us? No. It's a private thing. We don't need to tell us.
No. I'm in Palm Springs right now with my family. It's me and my wife's 9-year wedding anniversary.
Ooh, must be nice.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
It was much needed. In the last 9 years of us being married, this is actually the very first time I've been home on our actual anniversary day.
Wow.
We've always like celebrated it when I got home or like a few days before, but I've always had gigs, like really heavy gigs in November, and I've always missed the actual day. So this is the first.
Let's say a big cheers to wives of DJs. They have to endure so much.
All the bullshit they got to deal with.
And the ex-wives of DJs. Cheers.
And girlfriends and ex-girlfriends.
And the future wives.
And future wives. Paul, sorry ahead of
This
time.
is why stop there? You know.
Somebody,
Ali,
somebody in the comment wrote, "That's why Drumstill's beard is cut and his hair is cut," and that's exactly right. Had to get it all cleaned up.
Cleaned up.
I was wondering already. So Ali, what else is there to celebrate?
Well, we celebrated the fact that Trump lost in the election last week, right? Did we?
No.
We didn't.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
It wasn't called. It wasn't called. It was only called on Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, let's celebrate.
Sure.
Cheers.
Again, I'm going to be saying 306, guys. 306. That's going to be.
Well, they're
Still
saying
going with that,
306, Chris. So I think you may be right in the end.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
Let's see how he
This
leads.
is gonna take. It's gonna take a long time.
You were always good at math, weren't you, Chris?
I'm okay at math.
Yeah.
They're
I
gonna have
think
to
you can be okay
drag
at
him out of there.
math and still figure out that Trump lost.
Yeah, exactly.
But when will he
just hope
accept
our
it?
lives actually get better?
I think it boils down to the states certifying the election results. Once they certify it, and then I guess there's something that needs to happen with the electoral college, like the delegates need to be activated or identified or
Also, the president needs to actually concede as well.
Sure.
That's
the
part of
president's
the story.
conceding.
Does he have to?
Yeah.
No, no, he doesn't have to concede.
Somebody actually
it-
came out recently and they did a whole.
I heard there was a law that
Ask me about American politics. I know everything. He doesn't have to concede. He's just going to be kicked out of the White House, and he's probably not going to be conceding.
I'm gonna have to send you a link to something, Chris, that you have to watch because some lawyer came out and did this huge speech, who was saying that actually the president needs to legally concede before they can kick him out of office. But what do I know? Maybe you know more than I do.
that doesn't make sense.
I have to get another beer because I've already drank my first one.
So I mean, any president can just stay in office because they don't concede. That doesn't. There has to be some.
Yeah,
rule.
as a matter of fact, this guy, I don't know. He has a YouTube channel. I think he's an anchor on CNN. Not that I love CNN or anything like that, but
Yeah.
he came out and was doing this whole expose on how the Constitution and the laws of the U.S. doesn't actually say just because a president wins the electoral votes that he automatically becomes president. That there's a process of traditions that's in place, and one of those traditions is that the president actually needs to have concede and have his speech about it and step down to pass it on.
Well, what's the alternative? It's like a dictatorship. It's like an
Yeah.
authoritarian.
Well, I don't think anybody's ever challenged it before, so
There's a lot of firsts with Trump.
Like the name of that.
I just got a double IPA, yeah, which has 8.3. So talk to me now because later on I'm probably not going to be so capable. It's an IPA, which stands for Indian Pale Ale, and I'm sure David, you can tell us a little bit more about Indian Pale Ale or segue magic.
It's a good segue to our guest, actually.
give us a little history, David, on IPAs.
Okay, and maybe we get our guest on first, and then we get a little history. Maybe Arjun knows.
Maybe Arjun
about
knows.
IPAs.
Yeah. There he is.
Arjun, welcome to our
Hi,
show.
guys. Thank you
Welcome.
so much for having me. Pleasure to be here. Cheers, everybody.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Cheers.
But
Thank you so much.
before I have to open this first. Can you tell us something about Indian Pale Ales and the history of them?
Chris, I'll be very honest with you. Maybe a couple of years ago is when I actually realized that IPA actually means Indian Pale Ale, because I wasn't a very big beer drinker. I just got hard alcohol stopped working for me. My body couldn't handle it, so I shifted to beer, and that's when I really started liking IPAs. And somebody told me, that's actually Indian Pale Ale, and completely my bad. But I have to do the research on this and find out why it's called Indian.
You don't have to, because we have David here, and I kind of know myself too. But maybe David, you're while I'm pouring my Indian Pale Ale, you tell us a history of Indian Pale Ale, since we're DJs and Beers.
Well, I can't be specific by dates and stuff, but the story goes that with the British troops over in India way back in, I can't remember which war, they drink ales, which are sometimes heavily hopped, but in order for the beer to last the trip on the boats, they had to throw a ton of hops in it, so it wouldn't spoil.
Yeah.
And then that's where the name India Pale Ale came from.
I believe it goes back to when the British were conquering India.
It definitely goes back there. And another part of the story is that this was actually just meant for transportation, and the amount of alcohol was higher. But once the beer got to India, the British noticed, like, wait a minute, this is great. We're not going to put water in it again, because it was it's a kind of a concentrated hop beer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where they said, like, now we're not going to put any water in it. We'll just keep it that way. And then that's how India.
Oh, that's how Indian Pale Ale, basically was. But I've heard people say that that's not the real story, so I have to look it up.
But the funny thing is, we don't have IPAs in India. It's literally come into India, I would say, the last year and a half. Before that, every time one traveled, I drank IPAs, but you would never find an IPA in India. It's only very recently that we've had local brewers pop up and, have these boutique breweries and stuff like that, and doing really interesting things. Like what I'm drinking right now is a local Goan beer, strangely called Arbor. I don't know why they chose this name, but it's really nice. But it's called Bangalore Bliss. And Chris, you played in Bangalore. So it's Bangalore Bliss, and it's very nice.
That is so funny. I think maybe when the Indian people kicked the British out, they also kicked the Pale Ale out. And it's just like, we don't want to deal with that shit anymore. And now it's sneaking back in because of, like, the hipster breweries.
But it could be like possible. maybe it's a flavor thing. Maybe Indian people don't like the bitter taste? Could that be it?
Like the most famous Indian beer is this beer called Kingfisher.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of it, but
I've had it
tastes like
many times.
Right. It tastes like it tastes like piss. All right, and it's bitter as hell, and it's horrible. It's horrible. We as young teenagers, that's what we grew up with, because that was the only damn beer available, and it was really, really pissing off, because you had that, and then you had something called Hayward's 5000, which was, I don't know,
worse,
11% alcohol. Oof. So you'd have one, kids drinking one bottle, and in India we've got big bottles. We don't have. This is a very recent thing in India. We only, Chris, I remember you actually had that Nepalese beer. You had that Nepalese beer, which is the big bottle. That's the standard in India for beer.
Yeah.
The having the little pints is a very, very new thing, and we grew up on that sort of really pissy beer, but everybody's now drinking all these craft beers that are coming up, and it's become like this whole thing. And like, I live in Goa right now, and Goa's got a scene. Every city actually has bottled craft beer and really delicious stuff and very interesting stuff, and they're doing great artwork. This is another one by this company called the Goa Brewing Company.
Amazing.
And
wow.
Yeah, and they all really they take care of the artwork. I mean, even the sort of label is not just it's not that cheap paper. It's actually, they've taken time to actually make it artistic in a way.
There's actually a cult following for beer can artwork and bottle artwork now. Like, there's people that collect. They would buy, like, this one you can't take the label off, like, but this is like kind of, I don't know what, I think it's a sleeve or something, but there's people that collect cans. They sell cans of beers because a lot of times they're one-off. So, that label, like, they'll never use it again. So people collect them and put them in like scrapbooks and stuff, and selling it in cans. It's crazy.
So
fuck all those big beer companies. Fuck all those big beer companies, and let's
keep it local.
Support your local mini microbreweries. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
So Arjun,
modern times.
You were born in New Delhi.
Yes.
but you have always sung the praises of Goa. When, like, tell us a little bit about your roots in Delhi and how you ended up in Goa.
Well, Ali, the thing is that I've always, ever since my dad was in the hotel business. He was in the hotel industry. And I was born in Delhi, but in like 12 years of school, I've changed school 9 times.
Wow.
Went to college and then did 2 years of college in one city and then 1 year in another city. So I've been moving all my life because of my dad and his job and stuff like that. And it was funny.
What was that like for you as a child, like moving all the time? Did you look forward to moving, or just when you got situated with where you were and you made friends or whatever, when your dad was like, all right, we got to move, in a few months, so pack your things, like, were you upset about that, or did you look forward to moving?
I mean, it was a very weird situation because there were times that we would stay in a city for like maybe 2 years. There were times when we would stay in a city for 9 months because he'd be posted to another hotel somewhere else. And my brother and me basically, we're 2 years apart, and we didn't really get along for those years. But music was one thing that was always a constant with us because my folks were really into music, and my mom always had music playing at home and stuff like that. And because he was in the hotel business, most times, because they used to transfer him so often, most times we used to actually live in the hotel. And because we used to live in the hotel, we used to see bands playing in the lobby or bands playing in the coffee shops and stuff like that. So there are tons of pictures. My mom's got old photographs of my brother and me standing with our toy guitars with the lobby band and with this band and in various different cities all over. And my dad was actually posted to Goa when I was maybe like, I don't know, 10, 11 or something like that. And so I remember those times, and it was a very, very, very fond memories of being in that hotel because the hotel was on a beach. And as a 10-year-old kid, having access to a beach was, I mean, we learned to swim there. My brother and me, we went scuba diving when, Goa actually, one could do stuff like that. So it was a very interesting time. And obviously, like, making friends was really, really tough because, you're the new kid who comes in, you're barely there, so, and India is a huge country with like some 45 different state recognized languages. So every time we moved, the language would change, the food would change, the culture would change. So for us, it was like, whoa, okay, we've got to learn a language in school. The food the local food is completely different. I mean, Ali, you experienced this. Remember when, you remember when you were in Bangalore with us, we were playing that gig and we tried, I don't know if you remember, but like, we tried local Indian food for, whatever, after party midnight at some hotel. Anyway, but as being a kid, it was a really weird experience. And I actually don't know whether I enjoyed it or didn't enjoy it. But in hindsight now, I think it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I was a vagabond right from a kid to today, and
I was going to say it sort of prepared you for a life on the road.
I guess so. And why Goa happened is a whole other story. Is only because the rest of India is in fucking shit. The pollution is off the charts everywhere, especially in New Delhi, where my parents actually live and my brother live. And we had the opportunity to move here because luckily we have a job where we travel every weekend, and it doesn't really matter where we live. And I was like, all right, we need to, my wife and me decided that we need to live in a place where we can breathe fresh, clean air. And that's kind of how Goa happened.
How long have you been there?
So we lived in Goa for like 5 years. Then we moved to New York for a couple of years. Then we came back, stayed in Delhi for a little bit, and then moved back here.
Oh, right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like last time we hung out in Delhi, I thought you were living in Delhi. I didn't know that you were actually living in.
No, more at that point, I was actually in Delhi, and that was that. I think we just came back from New York at that time, and we were in Delhi for about a year because we were actually trying to look for a house in Goa, like a long-term situation, and we actually bought a place here.
Cool.
So yeah.
Congrats.
Arjun, before we get to hear a little bit more about your personal journey in the music in the music scene in India, I'm curious because how the electronic music scene in India has been developing, because Goa was always something on everybody's mind, like already since 20, maybe even 30 years. And it's been heavily influenced by psychedelic trance, or maybe Goa has heavily influenced psychedelic trance. I'm not sure which way it goes. But otherwise, besides Goa, I feel like India was like not aware of any electronic music maybe, and it's just starting to become aware of it. Like now it's happening. There's festivals. I just told you before the show that I did my second to last show before the lockdown to India. And I mean, there is a certain interest. It's not really that major and big yet, but it's growing. But
Yeah.
what is the story of India and electronic music? Can you just wrap this up a little bit?
Well, actually, Chris, like I've been playing for like 25 years. So
Wow.
so electronic music has been, yeah, I don't look it, but
Yeah.
yes, I have.
I'm just like, when did you start? With like 4?
I just turned 42 a couple of weeks ago. So.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Another thing to celebrate. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Still alive.
Celebration episode.
But Arjun, I read that you were 13 when you had your first experience watching a DJ in I guess it was the club of a hotel, because you were living in the hotel.
Yeah,
Maybe you can combine that with my question.
Yeah, right.
Oh, go.
So, sorry. Okay, so basically, the electronic music scene in India actually has a very, very deep history, and part of that comes from Goa, Chris, like you rightly said. And Goa trance basically happened right after, around the 70s, when the hippies were still coming to Goa. Goa, as a state, Goa became a part of India only in the 60s. India gained independence from the British in the 40s. But the Portuguese didn't leave Goa till the 60s. So Goa, in that sense, is very new to India. And therefore, Goa still has that culture of a slightly more European culture. Well, it did. It's freaking done now. But it did back in the early days have a very European culture in terms of food. People spoke Portuguese. So the music, when the hippies came here, and after the whole hippie rock movement changed, and the minute acid came into the scene and stuff like that, and psychedelic trance started happening on the beaches of Goa. And so so electronic music was there in India since then. Unfortunately, the rest of the country didn't catch on because Goa was still how do I put it? It was a weird destination for locals to go to. It was still very much popular by foreigners, tourists, Israelis, the Russians, stuff like that. Indians have only like invaded Goa, I would say, in the last 10 years. But electronic music has been around, and it's been around in like, it's like, was super small. I remember when I started DJing in '95. There was one club and I grew up in this. At that point, my dad was in Bangalore, and we sort of that's where my music education happened. And there was one club there, and the DJ at that club was a phenomenal DJ playing vinyl. He used to import vinyl in and figure out how to get stuff like that. And for us, like, I mean, forget vinyl, forget CDs. We used to get pirated cassettes without track lists, and you're like, if you like a track, then good luck finding out who the artist or whatever is. It was just, I got a really great track on this, and I have to find more. So it was that. It was a sort of hunt for music. So we've had a very small scene, and over the years, it's consistently grown because we've had, some really, really talented DJs around who've pushed and pushed and pushed, and clubs had time limits of shutting down at 11 p.m. and then it became 12 p.m. and then another city would do underground parties that would go on till 4 a.m. And so it's been this hodgepodge of things. And like you rightly said, over the last, like, I'd say 6-8 years, it's been sort of, going up steadily. And the scene is freaking amazing, or rather was really, really, really amazing. And Ali, to answer your question, yeah, I actually went to for my 13th birthday, my dad's present to me was to take me to the nightclub of the hotel that he was working in, because I was so into music. I was like, whatever, you learn to play the guitar and blah blah blah. And he was like, all right, let me take you to a nightclub and show you what a nightclub is like. And that was the first time I ever stepped foot in a nightclub, and I was like, whoa, turntables and stuff like that. I was like, all right, this is like super cool.
I'll say I was really excited to see you on the schedule, coming on, being a guest here on the show, because when I was first invited to come to play in India, I didn't really have very high expectations. I was very kind of unknown of what the scene would be like. And when I went there, I met you, and we toured and we played some shows together. We traveled around quite a bit, and I was incredibly impressed by the grassroots movement and the strength of an upcoming burning techno scene in India. And to see you kind of being at the helm of that and pushing it and being like at the forefront, and kind of very much a local hero in a lot of ways. Like how did this start? I mean, where did this grassroots kind of techno vibe start permeating inside of India like that?
Mo, it's very kind of you to say that, but it's like I'd say there are a handful of very, very talented DJs in India who've helped push the scene to where it is today. I'd say I'm like sort of like the second generation of DJs as such. Definitely first generation techno DJs of the country for sure, but second generation DJ. But the whole techno scene actually started because of the minimal techno scene. And I mean, much credit to Ali and Richie for that. And that's the first sort of techno sound that came into India. Before that, nobody knew who Jeff Mill was. Nobody knew Kraftwerk the way everybody talks about Kraftwerk today. People didn't know because it was very heavily influenced by the psychedelic scene. That was the real underground scene. And then you had the house scenes. And the house scene, and I was more in the house kind of scene where it was house, progressive house, breaks. We were playing like all Lee Coombs and like all that kind of stuff. I'm very bad with names, I'm sorry, so I'm gonna but it was that sound. And the house scene was moving parallel. The Sidetrance scene was moving parallel, doing the Psy parties in different cities. And it's sort of like the house clubs eventually sort of weren't really house clubs. They were top 40 clubs. We had to play all sorts of shit. And I came up the resident DJ way, for like 10 years of my life. I was a resident DJ. There was a time when I used to play 7 nights a week at a club for over 2 years. So yeah, I paid my dues in that sense, and sort of really honed my craft in a way by those resident nights. But then when the sort of clubs hype died a bit, and Tuesdays were empty or Thursdays were empty, and I'd just tell the manager, I'm like, just give it to me, let me just do something, and get a bunch of friends who liked house and progressive house and stuff like that, and we started throwing parties, and that sort of evolved. And I think, like, for me personally, I've had a huge evolution in music. I mean, there was a time when I was playing trance back in the day, when Ferry Corstein was doing like really cool stuff, Gorilla, and early German trance that was coming out, Paul van Dyk's early work. And there's this really amazing DJ in Delhi called Rummy, who used to keep traveling to Berlin, and he used to meet all these guys like Namito and Dr. Mote and stuff like that, and that influence was coming in. So it was this really interesting mishmash of everybody's got their own little, I used to love like the more tribal New York house kind of sound. So I was playing a lot of Victor Calderon, that stuff. And towards the end of the night, I had to do the top 40 crap. I had to play all that for the first. I mean, the club used to run till like 1 a.m., right? So from 8 to 1, and then the last half an hour, I'd be like, all right, let me get my like new vinyl, which is like whatever, 9 months, 12 months old, but I've only played it like 6 times. Let me take that out and play it, because Saturday night looks like pretty rockin' today. And yeah, it was just like super. It's been a really tough road for us to reach where we are today, or where we were.
If I remember correctly, some of my conversations with Sven, because I think Sven Veith used to spend a lot of time in Goa, and maybe he's heavily influenced by that sound, the Sidetrance sound. And Chris, is it correct to say that Frankfurt trancey kind of sound had? Did we lose Chris?
Chris didn't want to answer that question.
Ali, I think that was the start of like that was the start of like techno tourism, like in back when guys from Germany were traveling to Goa and coming back.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. And Matt, let me just add. Actually, Paul Oakenfold was heavily influenced by his one of his Global Underground CDs, or I don't remember the name, but that CD was heavily influenced by his trip to Goa, and it had a little bit of a psychedelic vibe to it.
I wanted to ask you though, quickly going even further back, because I'm a massive fan of Indian disco, like Bappy Larry and all of these, and a lot of these artists. But I guess there was no these records that came out in the 70s in India. These were purely like soundtracks to movies, so but they were never played in clubs, right? Because there was no disco culture there, was there?
No, Matt, actually there was a huge disco culture in India in the late 70s, early 80s. It died for.
But was it at hotels, or it wasn't?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, hotels. All 5-star hotels had clubs, like pretty much every single one.
Amazing.
And those were the first generation DJs who actually started the scene.
Well, that's interesting to hear that little bit, because I feel like every time I've been to India, most of the clubs I've played have also been in hotels. It seems to be just like a thing that circles over and over again, right?
The thing is licensing. India is the licensing in this country is so tough. I can't even begin to tell you. And so hotels have it a little easier because they're bringing in money through various other things. So the government has given them like late licenses. Now every hotel is allowed one venue can have a 24-hour license.
Oh wow!
So some hotels use that for nightclubs. Although then they had this rule that you can't serve alcohol in a place where there's dancing. So,
is that also for gambling and stuff as well? Though, is that gambling law as well? Like
we have a very strict gambling law, and I think the gambling law, like Goa has gambling, but there are maybe 2 cities or 3 cities in the country that allow gambling. It's pretty hardcore.
But I wanted to ask you, I mean, are you a fan of the 70s like disco sound? I mean, every time I come to India, I'm always going to, there's one shop in Delhi, there's one shop in Mumbai.
The record store in Delhi, that's legendary.
Yeah. And I always now because of Discogs, they all know the prices. This is the problem, and it's
Matt, next time you come, please hit me up, and I mean, obviously, I've got some network, and I'll.
Yeah. But can you find these records in Goa? I mean, are these records? No.
Not at all. Vinyl
just in the big cities.
Matt, these are what exactly? These are Indian disco records, like produced in India by Indian artists.
Yeah. There was basically, if I can just from a UK side of point of view. So when you had shops like Mr. Bongo in the early 90s, late 80s, then there was this huge fascination with like library breaks, library music, and through that, people started to find out about Indian Bollywood breaks. And of course, with the huge influx of Indians living in the UK, there was suddenly people could find these records, and then people just, it's a huge thing. There's hundreds and hundreds of amazing soundtracks, and they took references from everything from Boney M to all kinds of sort of cosmic disco. It's endless. This really it's incredible records.
Isn't there an Indian record of like that was considered the first like acid record?
Yeah, that's right.
Like David, I was just gonna say that it predates
like Chicago.
Exactly. And that was apparently the first acid release record, and it was lost.
But wasn't that song on Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd the first acid?
Okay, first acid 4/4. Let's put it that way.
But the use of
But
a
they used the
303.
303, yeah.
The
That's
use
what I
of a
meant to say.
303. The use of a
Yeah.
303. Yeah.
You
Is
guys
this-
should listen to that track again on Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh,
Well,
maybe.
there's this
I
guy
don't know.
called Charanjit Singh who made this album called 10 Ragas to a Disco Beat.
That's
Yeah.
the one.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was apparently the first acid record because he used a 303 and a 106 with a 4x4 kick
Yeah.
drum.
Yeah, it's an
And
amazing
it was-
album.
It's a really good track too. Yeah.
Yeah.
on the
It
album.
is. The whole album is fantastic, and it was lost
Yeah.
for like decades. Still, somebody discovered it, and then it became this huge deal. And it's really sad, but he's passed away now. But he didn't for his sort of musical career, he didn't get any recognition or anything. He was never a sort of well-known figure, even in the Indian music.
Show your age.
Ali, I don't think the 303 was invented when Dark Side of the Moon was.
Just allow me that little fantasy.
I think you're is it the song with the ARP 2600? Maybe that's the one you're thinking about.
It was a synthie that they used on that.
Oh, is that what it was?
What was it?
Oh,
Cynthia.
Cynthia! Wow.
Yeah.
Ah,
This predates Fairlight, right? Or
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
The Fairlight was in the 80s.
Yeah.
Fairlight was 80s. Yeah, that's right. Wow.
Cynthia
wait.
was a
But
suitcase.
going back to the Indian disco thing, are you a collector? Have you been buying this stuff? Or?
So Matt, think of it this way: I was the anti-disco, anti-Bollywood guy, and that's the
Okay.
reason I did electronic music, because the thing, and I hate saying this, but the Indian sort of movie soundtrack music, Bollywood,
Yeah.
was heavily into just stealing stuff. So
Right.
like you rightly said, they were not influenced by Bonnie M and stuff. They just ripped that shit right off. And growing up in
Yeah.
India during that time, and that is the most popular music even today. Bollywood is the number one
For sure.
genre in India even today. The biggest YouTube channel on the planet is owned by this company called T Series, which is a Bollywood
Wow.
record label. It's the biggest YouTube channel on the planet, right? So it's still extremely huge, and unfortunately, I'm fighting the system here. So I was anti all that. I appreciate it
for
now.
sure.
I appreciate it now.
It's always kind of
Applaud you for
different
this. Cheers.
when you actually come
Thank you,
from the
sir.
place, you know?
So wait, can I ask, like, what's the typical tempo of like a Sidetrance song? Like how fast? Like, what are we talking?
140?
140.
140 upwards. So 140 to goes. Some of the crazy shit even goes to like 165.
That's like drum and bass territory.
The sound of Berlin.
Yeah.
2020.
The sound of Berlin right now. Yeah. Right?
Well, the funny thing is, Gabba uses the distorted kick. Sidetrance has this extremely pure sine wave kind of kick that just hits you right in the center of your head. It's tick, tick, tick.
It's the knock.
Yeah, it's the knock. It's like
knock.
yeah, it's like
The Sidetrance thing. I mean, so my friend Tom Gandy, when he was working in Brighton, he used to work with one of the top Sidetrance producers, and we used to be able to hear his studio. And because it's so fast, we used to hear the half speed sort of elements coming through the wall and think, wow, this sounds amazing. But because this scene wasn't driven by vinyl, it was very sort of technical, and it was very forward thinking, I think, at the time, whether you liked it or not. It was
they used to exchange DATs
Progressive.
and stuff like that. Like DJs used to make their music in their studios, and they would exchange DATs. And a lot of like Sidetrance DJs, even some of the older generation Sidetrance DJs, even till today, if you go to a rave, I mean, it's not anymore a rave, it's a commercial rave, but if you go to one of those raves and you hear somebody like Goa Gill, who's like this legend, he still plays on DAT. He's still playing those old tunes on DAT. I don't know how they mix on it, but I don't know if they have pitch control on it and stuff like that. But
it's not easy. I used to travel with a portable DAT player because I couldn't afford to cut dub plates, and I would try to beat match to the record that I was playing using a DAT, and it was It was a challenge.
Well, I learned how to beat match with two Sony CD players pressing play and pause and hoping the beat aligned, and then made a list of tracks and realized, okay, there's something called a BPM, and they all have the same BPM, so therefore they actually align. If you press play and pause long enough, somewhere in the middle of the track they align. And then using a studio master shitty mixer, which is the Indian sort of PA mixer, two mono channels, mixing like that. That's how I learned how to DJ. Actually.
So what influenced you to DJ? Like, what were there other DJs that influenced you?
Oh yeah. I mean, for sure. Like, I mean, when I started going to clubs when I first heard electronic music, and I was like, okay, I need to sort of, find where this music's at. And, I heard like Apollo 440 and The Prodigy and stuff like that. And it was incredibly difficult to actually find the music because we didn't have music stores in India. India was a very closed economy. Getting anything imported was extremely difficult, so everything was super local. So if you had a friend who traveled or something, he'd bring back like a CD or a cassette, and then all of us would like copy it, and eventually everybody knew the tracks, and every time there was a house party, we all knew the music. And so it was stuff like that. And then by the time I was like 15, I was like, all right, man, I suck at playing the guitar because I wanted to make music, and I was in a band, but our band was really bad. And I was like, all right, this DJing thing looks like an easier way to get into the music business and into music.
What kind of band was it?
We were like a heavy metal band.
Okay.
Proper, like yeah. I used to have like black nail polish and eyeliner,
all right.
and like long hair and all that. Did all that, and
okay, cool.
I mean, I loved it. But then when I heard like actually Apollo 440s ain't talking about dub, changed everything for me, because the riff that they had was it's a proper and I was like, what is this rock riff doing with this crazy sound, and like what is that sound, and how do I find it? And it was like that quest to sort of find what else there is that kind of led me down that path. And
so what I mean, obviously everybody's under lockdown with this whole COVID-19 thing. I know that the techno scene in India was on a really good progression. Where do you see things now and where it's going in the future? I mean, do you have any insight? Because I was really excited to see everything that was going on in India with techno when I was there. You know what I mean? And I'd constantly come back and tell all my friends in Europe all the time, like, dude, I played these clubs.
I mean, Mo, we had some amazing gigs, right?
Yeah, they were fucking awesome, man. Like really good shows.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree because the Indian people are they're so full of positive energy when the dance floor, connecting to the music, whatever it is.
There's nobody just standing there staring at you. Everybody's dancing the whole time.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I'd come back and tell people, all my friends, like, dude, I played, like, I didn't even know there was dance music in India. What are you talking about? And I've been trying to like spread the praise. And where do you see things going now?
I think it's going to turn incredibly local for a while. I mean, till things and Ali, actually, we were just talking earlier this evening. Ali got a booking for India.
Yeah, I got an offer to play at the beginning of December, and I just don't feel like it's the right time right now, based on how bad things are globally. And I wanted to have Arjun like weigh in on how I was feeling, and he kind of reinforced how I was feeling. But just going back to Mo, what you were saying, for me, 2018 maybe was like the breakthrough year where I saw everything kind of explode as far as underground music in India, and I mean really exploded. I was fortunate enough to work with Pratik from Slick Productions, local promoters in India, who organized 2 very solid tours for me. I think 2 years in a row. Maybe there was a break in 2018 was the last tour that I did in India, I believe, and it was insane how great it was.
And I remember, Ali, we played together for your first tour as well, right?
Like first tour we played together, yeah.
And it was an insanely cool party, and that was the time where things like, I think, Ali, you were one of the first really big names in techno to come to India.
Yeah.
And it was like such a huge deal. And it's a really funny thing because like Ali came and he landed in Delhi, and the Delhi gig got cancelled, or you didn't have a gig in Delhi actually.
I think
Right.
it got canceled. And then I was doing an interview with somebody from Rolling Stone, and I said, yeah, I'm really upset that it's been canceled. I wish we could do something. Maybe we can organize like just a spontaneous party. And they knew like an actor who owned a property in kind of a secluded area. And
Yeah.
we ended up putting this thing together in 12 hours or something. Less
Like
than
a
12.
proper underground party, dub fire playing in New Delhi with like, no publicity, and the place was rammed, and it was like, grassroots sort of underground party, but having a name like Dubfire, because at that point in time it was ginormous. It was like, having such a big name play in Ali, it was a 50-80 capacity room, right?
Yeah, but the energy was so insane.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like earlier you were talking about how getting licenses are difficult if you're not a hotel or something. Was there any scene of like promoters throwing like some warehouse parties or something, or is that just impossible?
Actually, that's how I started doing my own parties, like back in 97, 98. We did illegal parties. Like we literally ran the cops would come and bust us in like 30-40 minutes.
So that's my next question. Was like, was it like really easy to bust, or did they keep happening?
Super easy, because like we didn't have any blueprints of how an underground party should run. So we were like winging it. A friend of mine had a van, and we'd set up the console in his van so that you'd open the back, and the turntables are there. And if the cops come and bust you, at least my decks are safe. Fuck the speakers. But as long as the vinyl and the decks are safe, I don't care. Let's just close and leave.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I got to doing that.
I mean, see, you guys do some really cool underground parties there, but you have a system now, right? Because I remember, I mean, we've spoken about this more about the parties that you've done, and you have a very like, it's a system to throw.
Yeah, there's definitely a system.
I can approve to that system.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of protocols that you need to follow in order to get away with throwing illegal parties, and I think for the most part, it's one, keeping people safe and being in an environment where people can party, and then also, I think the authorities in California don't care so much as long as it's not a bunch of young kids partying and doing drugs on the street and acting immature. If you seem like you have it under control, then for the most part, they tend to leave you alone a little bit.
But I also meant the system that you have in place when your party gets busted and you want to continue.
Yeah, man. I mean,
you have that under control, dude.
Down a warehouse doesn't mean that the party's over. You got to keep going.
I saw the DJs and Beers episode where you guys were talking about it, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
But that's the plus side of LA, man. Is there's just so many warehouses. You can just jump to another one when one fails. I don't know what other cities in the U.S.
There really isn't that many cities in the U.S. that can do that.
No,
have you guys ever thought about putting out like an how-to manual on throwing underground parties?
No
way.
The funny thing is, I've been asked by I'll say a few different press outlets to do some sort of like rule book or something like that for them, and then at the end of the day, it's not good PR to do.
No.
Not something you want to release to the public in the first place. But I'll never forget the surprise on Chris's face when we got raided by the fire marshal. And then like 15 minutes later, he was ready to go back to his hotel and was like, dude, the party's not done. We're loading up the sound system and going to the next spot.
I remember that story. You guys talked about that story on the show. That's
the great thing. It was literally the day I first time met Mo.
Yeah. I left an impression.
It's never going to leave me. That memory is just insane.
Well, I honestly don't think there's been a more perfect time to put out a how-to manual of, putting on an illegal party. And
but
then
we don't want to have the authorities like know what the deal is, like we gotta still.
But just distribute it in the underground. It's for people like us. We need it
because it's just like that Prodigy album says in the beginning. We're afraid of it falling into the wrong hands, man.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll keep it safe. Okay, send me more. Just email me, please.
I'll send you a blueprint, man.
That's what, because I think we're there now. I think it's all going to go back to how it was, at least in India. It's going to go back to how it was 20 years ago. And I don't mean illegal party as in irresponsible parties, responsible illegal
absolutely.
Parties.
Yeah.
We need to,
Well,
I guess there's very little tourism right at the moment in Goa. I guess there's not many people traveling there, is there? Or
Matt, the funny thing is that when the average Indian discovered Goa, it's been an insane amount of influx of local tourism, and Goa is actually full right now. It's just rammed. But no international tourism at all. But
are there parties?
Insane amount of.
Goa?
Ollie, I can't even tell you. Like, I've been so anti what's going on here, because the thing with Goa is it's one of the few places in India which isn't so densely populated. That's the great thing about being here, and that's the reason why I'm really thankful that I've been here during lockdown and stuff like that. The COVID situation has been under control. Numbers are super low. But the problem is that everybody knows that the numbers are low. So they're like, oh, it's the weekend. We're going to Goa and we're going to party like it's 1999. And because of that, and the government and India has a low mortality rate. We are number 2 in the world for numbers, but the mortality rate is like way, 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 way low. And so the government's like, all right, fuck it, people are not dying, open shit up. The economy needs to go, because obviously the economy has been in a real crapper like everywhere else. But things are opening up in the wrong way, and parties are happening all around. And I've been, like seeing friends of mine, DJs and stuff like that, go and play at these parties. They aren't even wearing a mask. Forget the crowd and forget social distancing. There's 600 people at a venue, at a club, and it's a closed club. And it's just like it's a disaster waiting to happen. Yeah. And if it does happen, it's going to take us back as at least the nightlife industry back many, 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 many years, because it's taken us a long time to get to where we were. And if we behave irresponsibly, the government's going to be like, as it is, the Indian government doesn't like alcohol, hates drugs. I mean, you can get busted today for having a freaking joint in your house. It's become heavy. It's become really, really heavy with the current government. So with nightlife going that direction, and obviously nightlife's linked to every bad thing on the planet, and if we as an industry fuck up so badly, we're going to regress all the way back to the 90s, and it's going to destroy everything that we built over the last 20 years. So I mean, I'm trying to talk to people and have arguments with club owners and trying to explain to them, you have to be responsible, because there are a lot of lives at stake, there are a lot of careers at stake. It's not just the DJs, it's the promoters, booking agents, doormen, bartenders, blah blah, the whole ecosystem. I mean, we all know what it is. But it's up to the club owner to, it's funny thing. I had an argument with the club owner the other day, and he's like, how do I get people to wear masks if they don't want to wear it? They'll have 2 drinks and they're like, fuck it. I said, all right, if somebody cuts a line of cocaine in your club, what are you going to do? He's like, I'll throw them out. I said, do the same damn thing if they don't wear a mask. You set the rules. So set the damn rule. Yeah. You set the rule, you be hardcore about it, and that's it.
But very well said, Arjun.
Yeah. There's no mandate in India for people to wear masks, or is it just like a suggested thing?
David, we don't in India. It's how do I put it? It's a very vague line of mandates in this country, because you have a national mandate of what the central government tells you, but then the state government can decide to sort of alter it and go a little left and right. So each state, each city, well, not city, but each state has different rules and laws, and some cities are allowing nightclubs and restaurants to open up. Some cities are opposed to it. Goa is like gung-ho about it because they need tourism. Goa heavily relies on tourism to survive because that's a huge part of the economy of the state. So they're like, come in, we're okay. But the problem is coming in, but you don't know who's coming in, right? So it's this weird, like,
it seems like it boils down to culture and politics between local and national
absolutely
mandated guidelines. But are people in India, like, do they question the fact that there is a pandemic that exists? Because I still, from time to time, find comments from people that think this is all a hoax. After 8 months and the entire world has turned upside down, unlike any other time in our lifetime, people are still, they're probably the same people that think the earth is flat as well. So,
yeah.
But it's unbelievable that people still question whether this thing is real or not.
That seems like
I think it's okay to question the government responses around the world, how effective they've been or ineffective, but to question the fact that this exists and whether it's lethal, I think the numbers and the science kind of clear up any doubt, right?
Absolutely, exactly.
But Ali, like I said, because the mortality rate in India is so low, right? It's strange. Apparently, there are scientists trying to figure out why Indians have low mortality, and I know.
Is it maybe a counting issue that
Chris? The thing is that there, I read this article and about somebody talking about this, and they said it's actually because our hygienic conditions are so bad in India.
I was about to say that myself.
Shit! That explains it. Yes.
So because our immune
systems have got to be like
exactly, our immune system is much more stronger and more tolerant.
Wow.
My friend from Nigeria said the same thing. Said it doesn't even touch the sides there.
Same could be.
I'll drink to that.
Could be said to all the ravers who've been spending every single weekend at Berghain for the last 3 years. I'm sure.
Yeah, I've been at Berghain for 30 hours. I've probably had
I mean, like, fuck. How many DJs do we know that have been like really severely affected by COVID?
Yeah,
none that I know of.
More. John Aquaviva
getting sick, but in terms of just
but like sick wise.
No. I mean, there was Mike Huckabee.
That's a good question though, Ali, because I guess I do know quite a few DJs in Berlin that have had COVID, and it would be great if we could have someone on the show, or even if someone like Mixmag or Resident Advisor could interview some of these guys or girls, because I guess the problem is maybe they don't want anyone to know.
Why?
Well, because maybe they want to get
stigma behind, but there's also
stigma about parties and they're partying.
It's like once everybody knows you had COVID, they don't want to invite you to their house anymore. It's like, fuck that guy.
Yeah,
which is not true, but I can see why that insecurity might exist in some people.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of COVID around now, and a lot of very good friend of mine has it right now, and I know of quite a few people who had a really bad experience with COVID, including hospital. So that is happening. It is happening, and it's getting closer to our doorstep somehow.
My mother-in-law just had it about a month ago, and so did my brother-in-law, and they were in the same house, and. Obviously, my mother-in-law is way older, but hers wasn't that bad. My brother-in-law, on the other hand, for about, I guess, like a month and a half, he lost the sense of smell completely. And so, I mean, it's like you said, it's very much there. I mean, I have a lot in India. I know a lot of people who've had it, and they've recovered and stuff like that. That's fine, but it's been painful. At the end of the day, it's been painful. I mean.
I already actually know 2 people who've passed away from COVID already, as it is, which has been rough to swallow.
Yeah, Arjun, I really like what you just said about the situation of India and the clubs and how they treat COVID and everything. But I wanted to get back a little bit to the other thing, which I'm really curious about for whatever reason. How do you see, or how is actually the status of drug regulations in India, and where do you see how it's progressing? Because we see, for example, which state is it, Ali? Oregon legalized even ecstasy, MDMA, and stuff like this. Where are we in India?
Decriminalized all drugs.
Yeah.
Decriminalized all drugs. Like, yeah.
Wow.
Like where yeah. I just heard you
Wait,
saying.
wait. Who decriminalized what drugs?
Oregon.
Oregon.
That state.
Like, so it's legal to do everything?
Yeah.
It's not legal. It's not legal. It's decriminalized.
Even like possession of heroin is a small time fine now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like you're not going to go to jail.
All right. So let me just go the exact opposite in India. Sorry, Chris.
No, I just want to say when I do this, I'm not condoning to take drugs. I'm just like, free society, this should not, this should be allowed. And I just got reminded myself of something that I wanted to say earlier on, that I wanted to add what you were saying about the COVID situation, just to make it clear for everyone out there. We're like condemning any sort of illegal parties during a pandemic, because it's going to not only like endanger people, it's also going to put a really bad light on our business and our scene. Like we need to be responsible, and I just wanted to add that. And
it just pushes everything back further. That's
exactly. It's just on all ends. It's a shitty thing. So that's our stance.
Absolutely.
I guess I talk to everyone else here too. But Arjun, let's explain a little bit to us what the situation about drugs in India is.
Drugs? What?
As I remember that everybody went to India in order to take drugs and get fucked up.
Arjun, what kind of drugs do you like?
Am I allowed to say that on the air?
Of course.
I'm kidding.
No, your own discretion, of course.
So Chris, I'll just say this. In recent times, things have become really, really, really bad. Because, so obviously this is all government-based and based on who the ruling party of the country is and stuff like that. And the current ruling party of the country is an extremely religious, hardcore, fanatic Hindu party. All right. For them, anything non-traditional, not going against the values of traditional India is taboo, we have to ban it, and we will fuck whoever goes against our religious moral guidelines.
Wow.
It's been so for the last month, there's been this huge crackdown on Bollywood. So
wow,
it's been
crack
insane.
down on a big business like that. There's the money is in there, and so they're so fanatic that they don't even care about the economy, the business. They're just like, wow.
Well, the business doesn't exist anymore because of COVID and stuff like that, right? So for the moment, but the fact is that they're arresting people because they found a joint's worth of hash, or a joint's worth of marijuana, or CBD oil that has a little bit too much THC in it. They're taking people to jail for this shit. So it's reached this insane point where, I mean, I hate saying this, but we're reaching that freaking dictator vibe. In
Speaking of
Chris, what are you doing?
Bottle
drops. Those are eye drops.
eye drops, yeah.
Eye drops. I was just like,
all right, as long as it's eye drops.
Gotta make some noise for my friends at Locked and Key Remedies.
That's CBD oil?
Yeah, it's CBD oil.
Like, why the fuck is that illegal? Like, what harm?
It is not illegal. It's not illegal in Germany. But we'll go back to India. Arjun, explain to us.
Why is that?
Well, see, the thing is, anything here to do with getting high is illegal. Anything. You go to a party and the music gets you high, that music's fucking illegal. It's like that.
Wow.
Literally, I'm telling you, the battles that we have fought in this country to get to where we were it's been like wow.
But
And we just
that also applies to alcohol in a lot of ways, even in the most conservative circles too. Correct?
Yeah.
But see, Mo, alcohol again is like I was talking about getting licenses, right? For a venue, for a non-hotel venue to get a license. You remember you played at Oro? Remember Oro kick-ass gig that we had? Now that's not in a hotel. For them to get their licenses and to keep their licenses, and the amount they've had to sort of fight, and now they are, a bunch of people who are fighting the good fight in that sense of, they're talking about how having a sort of nightlife culture is cultural. It's culture. It's not just drug abuse, and it's not against the system or blah blah blah. It's actually it's helping the economy grow. You're helping build culture in a different way. But I mean, my issue with this entire thing is that in India, music culture as such, which by the way, Indian music culture, I mean, obviously you guys all know, but our heritage culture, talk about the sitar, the tabla, all these instruments that, I mean, like I know friends who are maestros and who have been, who have been playing since they were like freaking 2 years old or whatever, they can't survive. They can't earn a living. The government doesn't help them. We don't have any stuff like what the European countries give you, aid and stuff to musicians. That's not, I mean, forget it. Like I'm not even going to electronic music. We're talking about traditional music that's come from India, that's helped put India on a global map. I mean,
like the equivalent of a Ravi Shankar today, right?
Exactly.
There's
like
no
so
support
Anushka,
for that those kinds of artists. You're saying
absolutely not. Now, luckily, now Anushka, who's Ravi Shankar's wife, daughter, is a very good friend of ours. Me and my wife, and like she doesn't live in India. She came for our gig, yes, when we were playing together, right?
That was
Yes,
awesome.
she was dancing in the front. Yes, she was. But it's okay if you're like A grade, maybe you get some help and support by the government because you're a national treasure. But what about the 100 other actual people who are performing and who are musicians since they've been kids, and it's really sad to see. So I can't even think of electronic musicians getting anything. Like we have zilch. There's nothing. If I want to do something, I have to start it grassroots by myself, find the funding by myself, do everything, and if it doesn't work, I'm the one who suffers. It doesn't make any difference to anybody. But what bothers me is that music in general, or the arts in general, is scoffed upon in a country that has such a deep history in the arts.
Yeah.
Well, the U.S. isn't necessarily reaching out and helping anybody in the arts either. We don't really have any programs for helping out musicians.
I wanted to ask you that. How do you gain awareness for what you do in India? Like what are the channels that you're using to enlighten young guys and girls that there is this music? I mean, because it's such a huge country. I mean, how do you send the message that that there is this music? I mean, because it's becoming harder and harder in Europe and I think America, where radio is becoming more commercial. We don't have to. Also, record shops are closing, so you don't have that social interaction. So how is it just purely the internet? I mean, how are kids finding out about?
Yeah, Matt, it's literally one person at a time. It's like converting one person. When the EDM boom happened, and I'm actually very thankful that happened, because when it happened, it hit India in a very big way. The beautiful thing about Indian audiences is they're very receptive, and and they like to dig deeper. But because of the numbers that we have in this country, it's a tiny fraction of the bigger, sort of number of the population, I'd say.
Yeah.
So it's been this like converting one person at a time. A few of us who've been around the block for X amount of years have convince the bigger festivals and, to book big artists, Chris, Ali,
Yeah.
get them down, help spread the word, because social media, of course, plays a huge game, but it's also, you have to build on that hype mechanism and, make sure that the hype actually leads to the right direction rather than it,
Yeah.
staying where it is. It's kind of been it's kind of been super grassroots. Like we've never had record stores in India at all. Music
Yeah.
stores, literally 2 or 3 in a city,
Yeah.
and most times, like importing music to India it's an insanely.
I remember the first time I came to India was, I think, 2008 with the Red Bull Music Academy. And I came with Torsten, I think it was me and Dixon. And it's funny because Red Bull were obviously trying to sell, it was about selling cans of their drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
But of course, I don't think the drink was very popular in India at that time either. So it was quite a difficult thing for them to sell and also promote. But I remember it was very challenging to try and promote this music, and of course it's changed. I came to India a couple of times, but I think the last party I played, I was actually supposed to play at the end of March, but the tour got cancelled. But I played at this rooftop in Bangalore, which you probably know this rooftop.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was it's incredible. It was one of the best parties I've done in India. Like it was about 2 years ago. It's incredible. It's like a Sunday evening. I think it was mostly students, but no expats. It was purely local crowd. It was incredible. So it must be working. Whatever is happening.
I'll say this. Like, I've had the opportunity and I'm very privileged to have played in many cities and countries around the world. But playing back home and playing for my homegrown audience, and when I do gigs here, and I mean I do a lot of gigs here, or did, but it's an absolute pleasure because I can literally throw anything I want and I can play anything I want and they will take it. And maybe they won't understand it at first, but it's like it's like how us DJs actually talk about, reeling them in. And once these guys get reeled in and they actually start vibing, you can take it any direction. And I can attest that because I have seen this happen time and time and again. I mean, with Mo, I know, when he came and the drum cell sound was a bit more harsher than what they were used to. But I mean, the way they took it and they like, wow, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and the way it worked. And Mo's played now in India quite a few times. We've done several gigs together, and his fan base has only grown, and they look forward to it, and it's inspired a whole generation of new guys to sort of go left field and explore weird, me included. I mean,
Hey, Arjun, this is a good segue into you not too long ago sent me an email, I think it was, describing this new musical direction that you'd embarked on. I think the project's called Asymmetric. Right?
Asymmetric, yeah, asymmetric.
Asymmetric. And you described it as kind of industrial, for lack of a better genre. Yeah. So how much of that project was influenced by your association with Mo, or your roots, or what you're currently listening to, the resurgence of new wave, dark wave, electronic body music? What was the genesis of that project?
I think for me, like, I've always loved the distortion pedal. And this goes back to when I was a kid and playing in bands, and I would always have, and in India, we didn't have any imported brands. We didn't have the Bosses and the whatever else, nothing. We had local brands, and they were like really shitty distortion, but shitty distortion is actually kind of cool. And we actually have this amazing brand, this company run by this friend of mine called Aditya, who runs this brand called Animal Factory Amplification. He makes distortion pedals. Yeah, sure. Shout out to him. So going back to your question,
Mo, are you a fan?
I am. He makes good shit, man. He's dope.
Really good. And now he's making Eurorack stuff, and his new shit is like, wow, you know. So it actually started from there because like I miss the distortion in dance music. And I feel this industrial thing it got me hooked, because when I took whatever synth I had and put it through the distortion pedal, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, yes. Let's go back here. And this project of mine kind of started because I was at the time I was obviously playing a lot of gigs and just kind of burnt out with the 4x4, because I mean, I'm sure I don't need to say this to you guys, because you guys have also, but it was just this, I needed something else to do. I needed to just change. And whether it was making even ambient music, which was heavily noise influenced, or broken beat stuff, or like this, it was just like I don't know how to put it. I just had to.
Was this pre-COVID, or that you decided to do this project? Or
oh yeah. This was like, I think I sent this to you like 2 years ago, actually, right?
Yeah, you did.
Something like that.
I was incredibly impressed by it. I mean, you could feel the desire to break out of your norm and kind of color outside the lines and do something different, and you accomplished it really, really well too. And I even saw the video of your live show, and like the visuals that you do with the show and the environment that you did. It's incredible, man. It's amazing what you've been able to accomplish.
Thank you so much. Yeah, just try to, again, like I said, like it goes back to the same point. If you want to do something here, you have to, it's that whole DIY approach of like, and how do we find a visual artist who will actually, take what I have in my mind and bring it out. And I was fortunate enough to meet some really interesting people here, old friends of mine who I didn't know who were doing crazy things, and because of having a every weekend sort of career, you were so disconnected with your friends that it was nice to go back to meeting old friends and actually doing an interesting project, and you doing a project actually, and keeping it in that sort of project mindset. I'm still keeping it alive. I'm still doing like stuff. I actually just as lockdown happened, I put out this ambient. And Ali, did I send that to you? Did I send you that ambient thing that it was like a 5-track?
No, but I hope you will.
Okay, I'll send it to you again. I'll send it to all of you, and I would love for all of you to hear it.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
But like, Matt was asking about how you spread the word and kind of promote around India, and also, I mean, you've also been kind of playing a big hand in the technological aspect of teaching production and stuff like that with the school that you and your brother are running, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So that the school's going on in India, right?
Well, unfortunately, because of COVID, we had to shut down, because they shut down all the schools and stuff, and the overheads were just way too much for us to handle. So it's on pause at the moment. I'm hoping we do sort of restart it in the not too distant future, but the amount of information that there is online now, it kind of defeats the purpose of having a physical space. Though I actually really want a physical space, because I think that's very important. Because again, India is in that space where you can't go to a store and see you can't go and touch a synthesizer. So the school kind of was that space.
So what was it? What was the idea? When did you start it?
So we started. It was called the I Love Music Academy. And we started this about 9 years ago, purely as a space to teach music production and a little bit of DJing. And the music production bit for me was always the focus. It was always like, we need to empower kids to learn how to use hardware to produce, because with the internet boom and stuff, everything is so easily available, and piracy and blah blah blah. And I wanted to kind of fight the whole piracy thing, because in India piracy was huge, including for music. Like I would go to gigs and I'd see the opening DJ and everything was a zippy share freaking download, and it used to piss me off. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but we need to get there, and we need to understand. You download a trial version and try it out, but you need to understand. So the whole idea for the school started that way, and we started the first one in Bangalore. Then we started the second one in New Delhi. Eventually, we shut the Bangalore one down because it wasn't doing too well. But the Delhi one was doing extremely well. We were doing like 350, 400 kids a year. So it was quite good, you know. It was really interesting, and it was a nice sort of space. I also ran a booking agency simultaneously. So my whole idea, again, going back to the whole DIY thing, nurture the, you know, new talent, teach them, get them good, take them on, book them, and hopefully make some money off them in the future. So
How
that was
much interest did you have with people in India wanting to pursue a career like specifically in techno and underground music? And how?
well, Ali.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. No.
I was going to say, was it you know, specifically for this kind of music academy that you had? Was it specifically for experimental or underground music, or was it open to, you know, people whose interest, you know, spanned pop and maybe the Bollywood sounds and disco?
No, we were everything except Bollywood. I was down for everything except Bollywood, but the sort of like the stuff that we would teach was electronic music. Now, of course, you can use that within any genre, but our focus was always the more underground, left field kind of thing, and including everybody who was teaching at the school. I wasn't like a sort of constant faculty there. I was always a visiting guy because of life and, you know, my own career and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I would, you know, once a month or try once a month in reality. But all the actual faculty that we did have, they were actually really, really good producers, and they were making really weird left field stuff, you know, not necessarily you know, techno oriented, but it was all very left field. It was, you know, whether it was like more the deep housey kind of broken beat stuff, or, you know, even poppy left field stuff, it was always like that. And I wanted those guys to actually come on board and actually be the sort of, you know, the sound of the school. And if I could, and every time I would go, and obviously I would like throw techno down their throat, and, you know, I would do I would do vinyl appreciation classes. You know, I would go and take a bunch of records, different colors and different sizes, and, you know, with different artwork, and show them. And you know, like, I mean, I have a fairly decent vinyl collection, and I had a lot of doubles and stuff, so I would give some out to the kids, and it would be their first record, and hopefully I would convert them to vinyl junkies, and a lot of them are now, you know, buying vinyl and stuff. So that was always my thing of how do I take it forward. When I got into the whole modular thing, I started doing the whole modular 101 sort of thing of teaching them what an oscillator is, and why do you need you know, an envelope, and all that kind of basic stuff, which unfortunately software, everybody's very preset driven, you know, and that's what the kids want, instant gratification. So it was like a labor of love in a way, in that sense, but it was also a very successful business that my brother was running on a day-to-day basis, and we had, like I said, like 300 odd kids every year. So the music, I didn't want it to be very specific driven, genre driven, but it was definitely, yeah.
But do you think with what you're doing, does that push then your students or the people that you're influencing to leave the country because there isn't the clubs or the industry to support it?
Matt, it's very difficult to leave the country. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
It took me a lifetime to try and leave the country, and I tried it. It was very difficult for me to do.
Wow,
very difficult. Yeah, it's unfortunately, being a brown skinned person with an Indian passport it's
Really?
tough. I mean, oh yeah. Oh, I've been like fucking racial profiled every single time I've been out of the country. Like,
what shit world we live in.
Like in the same way as someone from the Middle East, or
yes, of course, if I had a Muslim name, I would be even more fucked, for sure, absolutely. But just like, you know, brown skin, immediately you're like, yeah.
Hey, Mohammed.
Yeah, I lived with a Muslim first name my whole life. It's pretty fucked. I'll tell you that much.
So,
but you said you lived in New York for a while, right? How was that? I mean, how was that transition from going from India to New York?
the weirdest thing was I managed to get an O1 visa. Now you guys, like, O1 is like, obviously it's a very big deal to have a alien of extraordinary ability visa, and I was completely shocked that I could apply for one. And this lawyer I was talking to, and she was like, "Oh yeah, you have the credentials. You've been on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine in your country. Blah blah blah. Yeah, you'll get a green card in 2 years. Don't worry about it." And both me and my wife actually studied in New York. She went to college there, and it was always her dream to go back. And I was like, okay, so if I can do this for us, let's give it a shot. Why not? And so we moved and we tried, and it was extremely tough. I mean, I went from being the biggest shit in my country to a nobody in the US. So it was
Arjun, what's the best Indian restaurant in New York? All the New York.
I never went to an Indian restaurant ever.
He's like, fuck, I'm not eating Indian food.
What?
Never.
Was it because
sure you have one in your back pocket, like the go-to when you're feeling like, I miss home, honey. Let's go down to.
Do you know the Kathi Roll Company?
The what?
Have you heard of that? It's called the Kathi Roll Company. Kathi Roll is this Indian wrap which has kebabs in it, and it's with
I'm salivating already.
Bread. For me, that's my fix. If I can get that, I'm good for like 3 months. My wife, on the other hand, she's not a big Indian foodie thing. Like, I mean, we rarely eat Indian food at home even. So,
So what do you eat? What do you eat at home? What's your go-to?
Tacos.
Italian.
Tacos. No, we eat a lot of fish because being in Goa, so we do, so we're trying weird things in the oven of different marinades of like marinating fish and chicken and just like there's lovely veggies in Goa. So we eat a whole. I can't put a tag on it. It's just a mishmash of like global influences. But my wife's mom grew up in Japan, so we have a huge Japanese influence in our house. Huge.
Amazing.
Yes, exactly, Ali. And that's and they started my sake. Yeah, Ali, please don't. Please.
Arjun, you so all these years you're doing your thing in India. You're swimming against the musical kind of tide. At what point did you start to notice interest in what you were doing from outside of India to where you were being invited to go DJ? Was it the productions that started to spark an interest in what you were doing?
Absolutely. It was the production. Right. Only the production, because Ali, like at that point in time, there weren't too many DJs coming into India. It was around the time of that EDM sort of explosion. So there was no underground DJs being booked at all. I don't even think actually festivals even had an underground stage. But obviously I was producing, and fortunately my music landed on Carl Cox's playlist, on your playlist. Ali, you played a huge part in my name going out. So, I will always forever be grateful to you for that. I mean, and, we've become great friends over the years, and I truly appreciate our friendship. But I am always grateful for you because the Twitter DJ that you had on your tractor, and every time you played, generated that. And that's what helped me put my name out. And I have to give it to Carl and Richie as well, because they played a lot of my music, and Carl licensed my music to a couple of the Space Visa compilations. And that was that was the first way that I could get my name out there, and was purely because of the productions. Because I met you in India after you had played my music, so you knew who I was. And so that we could start a relationship at a certain level. But it was never, I had to travel for during the summer or something. And if by chance I could get backstage at a club, and I remember going to one of Chris's CLR parties at Sonar with the Tresor crew. And it was the first, Dimitri came to India. And Dimitri heard us play, and he invited a bunch of us to play a Tresor. And I was
Amazing.
like, oh, yeah. I was like, wow. So we decided, okay, we're going to make a trip out of this. And we came to Barcelona for Sonar before. And so the Tresor crew was there, and they were backstage hanging out. And you had a CLR stage. And Ali, if I'm not mistaken, you had a Sidetrance stage also in the same space. I don't remember. This is years ago.
I
Right?
think maybe.
And
Yeah. I remember. During
yeah,
Sonar.
during off Sonar, next to the beach, outdoor thingy.
Yeah. At the
Actually,
fort.
Arjun, I think
Chris,
I
we did
remember.
that.
Have
Yeah.
we met there, Arjun?
I was very high, so I could have come and said, "Hello, Chris, sleeping."
His eyes were
It
like
could have
this.
happened. It could have happened. It could have happened, and you were like, "Who is this weird fucking Indian dude?" It's possible.
Something rings in my head right now.
Because I was hanging back. I was hanging.
It could be
behind
the
you when-
8.5% alcohol beer too.
Is that number 2, Chris? Or 3?
No, I'm gonna get number. I started off with this California Ale, which is just 5%, and then I ended up with this 8.5%. I'm probably gonna open another one because it's a lot of fun to listen to you, Arjun. Just continue, please.
You know this can artwork? It's got a Knight Rider. It's dope.
Oh,
Whoa.
what are you trying to
That's
say, David?
That is super.
I don't know what you guys are talking about before I just got back, but
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
David, like, fuck what you guys talk about. I got Knight Rider right here.
sorry. I heard Chris say he's gonna get a beer, so I thought that was a nice way to.
Dude, we're DJs and beers. That's the most important thing in the show, right?
Arjun, how do you feel Europeans like accept artists from India? Do you feel like it's been difficult to break into the European market and kind of play
Do you
there?
feel like you've ever been discriminated against because of your Indian name or your brown skin or your passport, your Indian passport?
Should I really answer that question?
Yes.
Yeah,
Rhetorically?
you don't have to name it.
Hold my beer. I get another beer.
And
You don't
feel
have to
free to
anything
name
specifically,
names.
but-
I won't name it, but yeah,
No, no.
yes, absolutely, yes, absolutely. I mean, it's happened. It still happens even now.
Fuck them.
Exactly. Fuck him. I honestly now don't give a shit. It did bother me for a very, very long time. I guess it was that, when you're young and you're fighting the system and you're like, I'm gonna fight it. And you know what? Fuck you. You're not gonna book me for a gig. I'm gonna get the biggest DJs on the planet to play my music. So fuck you guys. And I did it. So honestly, now I feel.
I always say
really,
success is the best revenge.
There you go.
exactly. And I mean, I don't consider myself successful anyway, but I'm happy because I've set all the goals that I had, I've reached, and
Well-
now I really,
Dude, we kind of just gazed over this, but you were on the front cover of Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
How the fuck did that happen, dude?
Yeah, actually, I want to ask, what is that all about? I mean, how
Well,
how did that come about?
I had
You
this
say you're
live act,
Successful.
David, but like, what is success?
humble.
Like today, I mean, you have a top 10 track, and tomorrow nobody knows your name, so it means nothing in the long run. I mean, personal goals is what I look at, and if I can hit a personal target and whatever in my life, I'm like, you know what, I'm happy and I'm content. I've done whatever I could do. There's a lot of shit that obviously I do want to do, and I try and fight for. And if it happens, great. But I've now reached that phase where fuck it. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't really matter. I'm still gonna do it. I'm still gonna, like. Why should I stop? I mean, I'm just.
I think that's
Colors.
the overall feeling with COVID now. If people are just like, they're just gonna do it and fuck it because I want to do it.
Absolutely.
It's like putting out club records when there's no clubs. Like, I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna do it anyway. I don't care.
Well, I think
I
anybody
wanna
who
do it.
loves music as much as any of us does, it doesn't matter if we were successful doing what we did or traveled the world or had a following or not. We would be doing it anyways because we love doing it.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Well said, Mo.
Did you feel like you're saying about exporting maybe what's happening in India out to, or trying to gain trying to get traction as a DJ outside of your country? Do you feel that maybe the people were coming into your country, like festival companies? Has that been happening? Outside interests trying to take over your market? Was that happening as well?
I'm going to chime in. I'm going to chime in real quick on that because I actually played in India with Arjun for Awakenings.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
So I have a few. Maybe that's.
But you're getting.
I mean,
I hope you're getting the recognition, and I hope they're coming to you first, right?
Well, I played after David, so that was a huge. So that was a huge thing for me that they were like, yeah, but I mean, he's truncate, but you're Arjun Vagale in India. So like, I actually fought it. I was like, no, he has to play after me, and and then Dax J played, right? He closed.
That's right. Yeah, Dax J.
Right. Yeah, and I was like, no, I'll play before David, and they were like, no, you need to play after him, and and I fought it with the promoters, but they were like, no. I respect.
It was still a really good party though. Like
it was a great party. Yeah, it was actually a really fun party. I remember us hanging out. We went to the after party.
And after party.
Yeah.
But there's really nothing wrong with that. I think that's an incredible thing that your local promoters, value you and what you bring to the country, because I think that's incredibly important. I think even as far as exporting what you're doing in India to the rest of the world, it's important for the rest of the world to know how valuable you are to your local community and what you do. And and like with your record label and everything, and like other producers like Dot Det and them coming up, it's good to see more Indian producers making music and playing a big role in the global dance music scene. And I think
Absolutely.
that the more that grows and the more that advances, I think, like what we were talking about earlier, having a difficult time breaking out of India and playing in like big markets like Europe will hopefully start to subside a little bit, because how long can you ignore somebody who's constantly contributing such a big part into the dance music culture?
True.
Yeah.
Well, Mo, I don't know about.
Just keep building it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, one's gonna keep doing it, but I the other thing, like, I look at it in a different way, is that there's like Europe. It's such a huge market. I mean, I remember, like, I've been playing Berlin for 10 years. DJs are still getting paid 200 euros, and they're okay with it there, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
for free.
Why would they? Yeah. Why would they fly?
Yeah.
Why would they fly a guy from India out to play a gig? That's never going to happen. Ever.
Nah, don't say that.
I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't say that.
As a music,
I know the feeling though. I know that. I know
this was the same in Japan for sure. It was the same in Japan. A lot of my friends had got no recognition outside of Japan. It was only through, luckily through the internet, through Resident Advisor, that suddenly these DJs gained, some sort of traction by becoming like hype. But it's difficult, isn't it? Like you said, we live in a saturated market, especially in Europe. So,
Yeah.
As a consumer, I'll say for me, it's incredibly important anytime. Like when I met Elvis from China and like the whole techno scene that they were doing over there, it's so exciting for me to hear like these local scenes that are growing around this group of champions that are like, grassroots building a scene in their countries. And maybe I relate to it just because, when me and David grew up in LA, we didn't have a techno scene and we had to build the techno scene from nothing. So maybe it's a little different in the States, but it's a similar feeling of like having to, build up. And what Matt was saying, it's difficult, seeing a bunch of European DJs infiltrating inside of Europe and kind of taking over something that you guys have championed yourself. So it's good to see that those promoters value you.
Yeah.
And for you to know, I think it's important. I mean, it's interesting for us outside of other countries to see people like you, developing a community in your area. So don't undervalue that by any means whatsoever.
Yeah, definitely.
I've been one of these infiltrating guys all my life, and I feel bad. I feel bad about it.
So Arjun, do you think it's proximity? It's the fact that you're so far away that they're not willing to to go
It's
through
geography,
the
Ali.
expense and the hassle, or
It's
is it
pure
because you're
geography.
Indian? Huh?
It's pure it's pure geography. It's pure geography. I mean,
Okay.
we are so far away, you know. And the funny thing about India is, like, for years, I mean, India is a very big country, but we're not part of the Middle East, nor are we part of Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
We're our own entity, right? So those guys ignored us, and those guys ignored us. Therefore, we had to do things our own way. And yes, we've been incredibly successful. I mean, India has had digital, has had awakenings, has had whatever these EDM ones. I don't even remember what they're ultra, whatever, all that kind of stuff happened. It's all happened here, you know, and it hasn't happened in a lot of other places. So what we've built as a scene here over the last, I mean, 10 years, the last 10 years has been incredible. There's been a lot of money pumped in. They've earned a lot of money. A lot of local artists have gained from it. And, you know, but the funny thing is, like, for us to go out now, a festival like Awakenings comes to India. Luckily, the people who brought Awakenings to India were like, all right, you need to reciprocate. So I got the opportunity to play Awakenings, you know, which was, for me, an Indian guy, huge. I opened, fine, I played at 12 in the afternoon, but it was insane because I played Area Z, which is like the freaking techno area. And Rocco was like, you know, I know the sound you play, just don't worry, do your thing. So he's like, there's no warm up, just do your thing. And I was like, all right. So I went in all guns blazing and I had a great time. So it's these, I mean, a lot of opportunities that have happened to me have respect to them, seriously. And a lot of opportunities that have come my way have come through association, be it Ali helping me, Mo, you helping me, you know, you connecting me with the China guys, Ali inviting me to play Sci-Tech Party in Barcelona. I randomly hit him up. You're in London, I'm in London, and he's like, dude, play. Remember, Ali? You like play for my party if you're in London at the same time. So these.
That was the night I took ketamine by mistake, and I.
What do you mistake it? What was it? What were you mistaking it with?
We were live streaming to Mixmag. I think the YouTube clip is still up there.
Oh wow. Everybody look for the clip so we can see how we're gonna take it.
Post the link in the chat.
I'll put them in the link.
for all you button pusher naysayers, thank God I was able to push that fucking button before I went down for good.
Sync button.
You know,
the sync button saved your life.
Sometimes, could you imagine if I was trying to fucking beat match?
Wow.
Like vinyl? Come on.
No way.
Not gonna happen.
I gotta look that shit up, man.
I'm gonna take a quick pee. I'll be back in a second.
Yeah.
It's not the first time that a guest leaves us for a moment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, I know that he's gone, but I don't know. I feel like it's kind of fucked up that they booked him to play Awakenings and he opened. Is that just me?
Yeah. No, but that's kind of the Awakenings attitude.
If that happens, that happens all over the world with what I've seen. It's always in Brazil or wherever. They would never have a local, you know, play later on in the day.
No, he went to Amsterdam to play Awakenings.
Yeah. Right, okay.
And he opened.
Dude, I respect Awakenings heavily.
Like you fly someone all this way there and you give them an opening slot. Yeah. I don't know. I think
sometimes it's about the setup.
It's about the what?
The setup.
The setup?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Set the tone. Opening set. I remember when I did Connect.
But he just told him that he could bang it out. I don't know,
dude. But if there's people,
I'm sure Dax J wouldn't have.
You know what? But David, the first time you and I,
Dax J opening, come on,
David. The first time you and I played Berghain, they booked us for an opening set.
Hey guys,
how long was the opening?
That's true. It was 8 hours.
Yeah. You know what? We should get Rocco on the show from Awakenings. I can ask him.
Rocco's great.
You want to put him on the spot like that?
Hi, Arjun, you're back.
Hey,
I'm back. I heard all that, David. Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay, you did.
Yeah, I did.
I'm sorry, dude, but I think that was a little. I understand the feeling of like, wow, they can't believe they brought me to Awakenings, but I'm like, really? They gave you an opening set, man? I don't know.
but the
But
funny
it
thing is, like,
happens.
I look at it in that way that, all right, fine, nobody in Europe knows who I am. That's fair enough, totally cool. But even that opening slot, actually, I mean, again, I'm a professional. I've been doing this for years. I know exactly what to do and how to get. By the time I finished my set, and it was what stage opened at 12 and it shut at 2, and I ended at 2, and by like 1:30 the place was rammed and
Okay.
people were partying. So for me, it was like, you know what? You want me to play at 10 a.m.? Fuck you. I'll play at 10 a.m. It's all right. I can do it. I mean, I've been there,
Okay.
done that.
Well,
It's all right. That's fine. But in my own country, yeah, I mean, of course, I'm going to close. Last year, I closed the Awakening stage. So, I mean, irrespective of whoever was playing, and actually, the first day, we had 3 days of Awakenings, and the first day I was the closing act. The second day, I think, was Speedy J. I'm not sure who played the third day. So it's fine. Like, it's all right. Like, I get it.
yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Ali, people in the chat are asking for the link for the video.
Just
But Arjun, how's it looking for you with the winter? I mean, with Christmas, New Year. I mean, do you think the tourism is going to come back, or at the moment you just don't need it because where you are? Or, I mean, and also, you're not obviously traveling to other cities in India at the moment, like Mumbai or to Delhi to DJ, right? Because everything's shut, is it? Or
Well, actually, Matt, things are open. I've actually got a shit ton of bookings for the over the last month, but I've actually said no to everything because it's a conversation Ali and me were having earlier. Actually, because the stuff that's going on right now, I mean, I find it's incredibly unsafe, in my opinion, to fly within India because I know the planes aren't sanitized, the airports aren't sanitized, and certainly nobody is going to maintain any sort of social distancing, mask wearing, blah 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 at any club. I know that for a fact.
But wait a minute.
I mean, this is the thing. I see that there's. I mean, I can see there's DJs that are announcing dates in Tulum already in like January, and I just wonder. I mean, I'd hate to get sick. I mean, or any person who's actually local to be sick in somewhere like Tulum, where there aren't great hospitals, and I wonder whether it is whether people should just be like, hey, let's just relax and let's chill out until this, at least we get things sorted, rather than trying to shove it down your throat and let's party and
Yeah. So
I know, but maybe India already has herd immunity.
Yeah, exactly.
No way.
Chris, actually, the thing is, like today, I was reading this today, and so we have this festival called Diwali. It's the festival of light. It's bigger than Christmas in India. It's like it's a huge religious festival. It's the one where you burn firecrackers and stuff like that, and it's massive. It's like the biggest. Everybody's out and about and shopping, and it's the time of year that you buy new things for your house and stuff. And I was just reading a newspaper article today that all over the country, doctors are absolutely petrified because there are no more beds in the hospitals.
Wow. Yeah.
We are going to hit a fourth wave because of Diwali, because of this thing. And it's this weekend, by the way. So in my mind,
I think I was going to say, I think America had that last weekend with the election. I think it was like that was another smoke screen for people to like just completely forget that COVID's here. It's like, and again, it's the same in Europe with Christmas. It's like, the economy, everyone wants people to spend money. So go on, but carry on.
That's absolutely it. Actually, Matt, you're absolutely right. That's what the government's mandate is now, that the economy needs to open. So everything's sort of open. Like, I mean, restaurants are open, bars are open, shopping malls are open, cinemas are open. Of course, there are some like whatever running at XYZ capacity, but nobody's following any of that shit because there's nobody looking at that from a bigger sort of perspective. Right now, it's just like get in there, and from the club point of view, the promoters are taking advantage of it. They'll be like, all right, fuck it, the government's allowed. Let's call up Dubfire and see if he wants to come down and play some gigs. you know. And it is like that. And when Ali messaged me earlier, and I was like, can we talk? Because I want to tell him that, you know, the situation, the ground situation actually is really, really bad.
Yeah.
It's nobody's talking about it because our mortality rates are low. Fair enough, agreed. But people are still falling ill, and our healthcare system in this country cannot handle it. Cannot.
Yeah.
It's impossible. I live in Goa. The healthcare system in Goa is extremely weak. My wife and I have a pact that if one of us falls ill, we're going to lock ourselves in one of the rooms, and that's it. And we have to deal with it. So we've, you know, I'm not going to a hospital. There's no freaking way. I'll die in my bed here at home. I am not going to these hospitals.
I think that's the general attitude. Nobody wants to go to a hospital right now. If they get
Well, in the US, nobody can afford it.
Yeah.
That's true.
But you guys have insurance and stuff like that, right?
USA.
Yeah, but most people don't. And even if you have insurance, you still have to pay for a hospital visit.
Oh,
Yeah, it's fucked up, dude.
that was one of the reasons why actually we left New York, you know, because of the medical situation.
It's a business here, man. That's the problem.
And it's insane. It's insanely expensive. Insanely. I mean, ridiculous. Wow.
And if you don't have insurance, you can pay up to $3,000 for visiting the emergency room just for the visit.
Yeah, we didn't have insurance.
Raw
And my wife,
dog over here, man.
yeah,
in California right now, you guys can get PCR tests for free, right?
Yeah.
Like very easy.
We can.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I think so. In Barcelona, it's like for a 24-hour turnaround. It's depending on a few places that I've gone to. It's from €130 to €180.
So, Ali, have are you supposed to be self-isolating quarantine after your Dubai trip, or what's the deal? Or did you get tested on the way in?
Nah, man, this whole thing's a hoax, dude.
For your trip or the virus?
You know what? It was like you had to have a negative PCR test before you enter Dubai. They're quite strict about it. When you're in Dubai, they're very strict with super expensive, heavy fines for not wearing your mask. So they've found a way from the very beginning to control the situation. And I don't know what the rest of the world differently, but
sorry. Go on.
How was it coming back, Ali? Coming back into
it's a
Barcelona.
group chat thing.
What happened?
What's the joke? I want to be in on it.
It's okay.
Chris just said he's super stoned. And he's just
I'm not. Just drinking beer.
I'm glad
His
you guys
mum's
are
watching.
he's got the giggles.
I'm just gonna be watching. I'm just gonna be watching now.
Was it the drops?
Yeah, buddy.
I'm just gonna be watching now.
Hi.
Ezra, look.
Hey.
He's like, I don't care.
He doesn't
Hey,
care.
Ezra.
Hey.
Ezra here. In this little window, all these guys.
Look at
It's a
that
great
truck.
car.
My family just got back, so I'm gonna have to call it a good day, guys, myself.
All right.
All good, man.
But continue the conversation and have a good time.
Enjoy
did
your
well, bro.
anniversary.
Take it easy.
Arjun, it's been a pleasure to talk with you, man.
Pleasure. Yeah.
Super excited to have you on,
I'm
man.
gonna mail you.
Yeah, let's talk soon.
Let's talk soon for sure.
All right, man.
Enjoy your
Take care.
anniversary. Take care.
Cheers.
Hey, Mo, Ali. So,
But Ali, so
Sorry.
coming back into Barcelona, coming back into Europe, how was it? Was it just like easy? Like,
It was easy, but like I was with at my friend's birthday party yesterday. I was with a guy who owns a couple of nightclubs here, and he told me that a few days ago they had a big meeting with the local council where, like, you know, people like Ferran Adria, you know, some of the most acclaimed chefs in the world who are based here in Barcelona, a lot of restaurant owners, bar owners, they all, you know, met with the local city council. And after 8 months of no guidance, they were asking for guidance. And I think he mentioned that if like their demands for some sort of a way out of this situation so they could open and operate safely. If that wasn't going to be introduced by the end of the week, they're going to open anyway next week. So they're going to go against the, because I mean, being in Dubai,
what are the fines then?
I don't think everyone's going to thumb their nose at the fines. Like,
how does that work? How does that work? So you say that they're going to open, but how does that work? It's the same with any business. Say, like with the music industry, with vinyl production, are the markets open? Can they buy the produce? And then are the staff at risk? I mean, how does it work? Like going right back into the details of having a business, like a restaurant. Can they get the food? Are the markets open? Is all that happening? Like
right now?
Yeah, in Barcelona, all the markets open every day.
Yeah, I mean, what doesn't make sense is I can go to the market, or I can go to the supermarket or the department store. I can go to the gym, the yoga, facility. The little packy markets, in every neighborhood, and they're open.
Right. Okay. Wow. Okay.
And they're not really limiting the number of people that go inside. I mean, it's not like it's crowded. They're not really limiting. There's certain places, depending on their own protocols that they're initiating. They're controlling the amount of people inside or whatever. And
mask mandatory?
Masks are mandatory everywhere in Barcelona.
Right.
Anytime you're in public, and if you're not wearing one, you will get stopped by the cops.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
And also in Dubai, heavy fines for not wearing masks.
Because I think
I heard in Dubai,
in Germany, I think there'll be no Christmas markets this year, right, Chris?
No, there's not going to be any Christmas markets, and that's a big thing in Germany, like Christmas.
And
markets.
also, in this week, wasn't it in Cologne? It was the start of Carnival, right?
Yeah, that's not happening either.
Yeah, which was like the massive big deal for Cologne.
Yeah.
So
I heard in Dubai they've got like drones flying around like all the time, trying to watch over everybody.
I saw them. Yeah.
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 God. I mean, I guess that's the difference between like this sort of, I mean, they have it under control in a weird way. I have some friends actually who live there, and we were talking to them a week ago, and they were saying that things here are actually fine. And then I saw your photographs and stuff like that you're posting. I was like, okay, I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, I know it's like a freaking dictatorship situation there. They're like,
I mean, it's the best place to be, honestly, right now. Like,
I'll never go there. I almost got my butt frisked because they've like stripped me down and they wanted to go up. From
they stripped. When you were going through immigration. And
the last time I was saying
they did that to my tour manager years ago, and he
Dingo.
Justifiably.
Dingo. Well,
yeah, for 5 hours.
12?
They held him there for 5 hours. They took his phone, strip search, everything, and it was. I think it was because of the tattoos. They don't like tattoos.
Yeah.
Do not like. This is. For any DJ that's going through, anybody that's going through immigration in Dubai, wear a jacket.
Wear a long sleeve. That's really important.
Yeah.
I wear a long
especially
sleeve.
Yeah. No tattoos.
No.
Yeah.
Wait, wasn't there some DJ? Wasn't there a DJ that got busted in Dubai for having porn on his laptop or something?
Groove Rider.
Groove
Rider.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, which DJ doesn't have porn on their laptop?
That's what I'm saying. Like, how do they?
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, not these.
Ali, we're not all like you.
But do nudes count as porn? Like, if someone sends you nudes, does that count as porn?
Yeah, you better delete all those WhatsApp photos and videos.
That's what I'm saying. Sometimes you got nudes on your phone, and like, does that count?
For years, when I used to go to Dubai to do gigs, like for a while, I used to change my wallet, my bag, everything, to be super careful. But
I mean, I don't even bring vitamins because I've heard stories.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, people getting called out for having vitamins. I leave so much behind.
What?
Like anything questionable.
Oh yeah. There's definitely a lot of stuff you should not take to Dubai. I mean, I seriously travel with my vaporizer anywhere in the world, but I would never take it to Thailand or to Dubai. Never. Actually, Arjun, I took my vaporizer to India. Was that sort of? Dangerous?
Chris, they've banned now. I don't know. Nobody's watching in India. It's too fucking
No,
late,
nobody's
so it's
watching.
fine.
The
But
thing.
this is illegal in India. It's a jewel. I don't smoke. I actually don't smoke. I did when I was very, very young, and it just doesn't work for me. I don't.
A
But
jewel
this is
illegal?
a jewel is illegal.
What's a jewel?
It's like
This is just
a vape pen,
it's
like
it's a vape.
nicotine.
It's just like
A
nicotine
cigarette.
vape.
It's an electric cigarette.
Exactly. And I did this.
How many nicknames do you need for an e-cigarette? A vape pen.
That's the company
No,
that makes.
it's the brand.
Juul.
It's the company. It's called Juul. Yeah.
I thought it was slang.
And I did this so that I could quit smoking because I've been smoking for 20 years, and I was like, I need to clean my lungs. And the government here was like, no, fuck you, smoke cigarettes, don't smoke this. because the ruling party actually owns a percentage of the biggest cigarette company in the country. So that's how fucked up it is in India. I'll just put it out there.
Oh God.
The tobacco lobby.
It sounds so bad.
Dude, it is really bad. Wow.
I keep getting flashbacks of like connecting in Frankfurt Airport, and like it's ghost town obviously, and everyone's masked up. And then I walk by like the little smoking rooms that they have.
Oh, that's terrible.
25 people. Yeah, there's like 25 nervous people in this room.
And
obviously,
it's like,
yeah, who are more comfortable being with each other in the smoking room with no masks, smoking, than they are in the airport. And I'm like,
they still have these open.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah.
Wasn't there some study saying that nicotine killed COVID or something like that?
Wait a minute, but that is literally, I know these Camel smoking rooms at Frankfurt Airport. They're literally like virus containing structures.
Yeah, exactly.
And they actually open this? Like you can go in there and smoke?
That's so weird.
So with people being in this contained environment full of smoke. Wow.
So they could smoke in the airport.
It's like completely against everything we're trying to do, right?
I guess they're ventilated, like they have like vents that suck the smoke. But
David, have you been in there? Have you been in there?
I don't smoke.
Dude,
no, I've seen it. I don't smoke either. I've seen it from the outside. It's enough.
But you only have them in Germany and Switzerland now, right? I mean, you never see them in any other country.
I think there's some in the States. I think there's some in the States too.
Really?
Yeah. Think so. Yeah. Like
I don't think the US has smoking rooms anymore. I don't think
really
because I used to be a smoker, but I never saw anyone. I was always desperate for.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, I've seen.
I think if you want to put on an event right now, like a legal event, right? Just tell everyone they can drink, smoke, and eat. They don't have to wear masks, right?
Well,
they can get away with, doing the event if nobody wears a mask, as long as they're drinking, smoking, or eating.
Right.
Like constantly, like having a pipe where there's constant something.
Yeah, because that seems like the only time that you can take the mask off is when you're drinking, eating, or smoking, right?
So just have like a little pipe coming down, and
Well, it's like I don't know what I know in California.
Like what Chris is doing right now. Yeah.
I know in California, like you can technically have like a brewery can open as long as you serve food, and if you're sitting at the table, you can have your mask off. So technically, you can put a DJ playing outside somewhere,
right,
and have music, but you can't get up and dance. I don't know as far as that goes, but
you can't dance, but you can.
I guess you have to stay in your.
Yeah, and
you have to stay in your little section.
Smoking, or you're eating, or you're drinking, it's okay to take the mask off, right?
Ah, man, it's it's so much gray area, man.
It's so like what I did was there like the W Hotel, right? So they have a W in Goa. So these guys reached out to me a couple of months ago, and they're like, all right, so when things open, can you help us? You live in Goa. Can we do something together? Come up with a plan. So I was like, all right, sounds interesting. Let's, this is going back to those grassroots days back in the day when one put on events. And I was like, let's start doing small gatherings. Just trying to get people out, because like the economy needs to start working at some point. We need to all start making money. the venues need to make money, the DJs need to make money, whatever. So I was like, all right, let's do these smaller things. Now the W in Goa is actually a very beautiful property. They have this, it's 30 acres. So it's gigantic, and they have a lot of open spaces and stuff like that. So we put on 4 of these gatherings. They're not gigs. And like I played for the first one, and I took all my old like funk vinyl and like, you know, old school hip hop and that kind of stuff, and no dancing. And we tried to do this thing where it's a like the venue can accommodate like 250 people, and we had maybe 70. We put a cap at 70 people, and it actually worked. And we put on 4 of them so far, and it's been working in the sense that the venue's making money. Whoever's playing is making a little bit of money. It's obviously not the way it was. We're not allowing dancing or anything like that, but it's just a sort of a social environment where you know it's safe. So you go with your bunch of friends. If you're like 2-3 people, you book your table or whatever. You sit at your table, you take your mask off. Like we're being like militant about the minute you get up, you need to put your mask on. It's nowhere close to going back to the environment of us being in a gig and like, you know, in that what we know it as. But it's just like it's been an interesting experiment to try and see how we can go forward and try and just, I don't know, just like start a little bit at least.
Do you feel like I mean, this is what's happening in the US now, is like the cases started going down, things started opening up, and then what happens? The cases started going up, and then the government goes, well, we're going to have to start tightening things up again. Are the Indian government as like militant about it, or are they way more loose about it?
It's actually one's trying to. Okay, I think my.
You're back. We can hear you.
AirPods died. I'm gonna get headphones. 1 sec.
No, it's all good, Arjun. We can hear you.
Yeah.
Actually, better than before.
It was louder.
Actually, we can hear you better than before.
Sorry.
There you go. All good.
We can hear you actually better than before.
Yeah, we can.
You can. All right. I'm sorry. Apple sucks. You know, actually, these earpods are great for listening to music, but their mics are horrible.
Yeah, you sound a lot more clear.
Okay. Shit. Sorry.
So repeat what you said, because a lot of what you said was cut off. About the government, are they really strict with things getting locked down again, or is it really relaxed?
It's actually, they've opened a lot of stuff up. You know, they're allowing people to open whatever they want. And I think now the responsibility falls on the people who are actually doing these events or opening things up. What's right and what's wrong? Like dude, there are parties happening in Goa, and they have been happening for the last month, where there are like 600 people inside a venue.
Oh shit! Oh right.
People have been sending me these people sending me these videos, and they're like, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, what's going on? And then I'll get an Instagram message from the promoter. Hi, please play it for us. Blah blah blah. I'm like, you know.
But my question was, okay, now that they're kind of opening up a bit, are the government going to crack down on it, or are they just going to let it happen?
You know, David, I don't know. I don't think they're going to crack down because they want the economy to start opening up, right?
Okay.
And it's very state specific. Like that's the way it works in India. Is like, you know,
it's same in the US. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Same. Yeah, exactly. So it's the state government here wants tourism. They want people to come in.
Okay. So they want people to. Yeah.
Yeah. They just want to let shit go down. I mean.
Damn.
It's just really strange.
And how do most people feel in India with everything? Like, do they want things to open up? Do they kind of don't care anymore, or are they more cautious about everything?
I mean,
maybe not in India. That's such a in your city or in your area.
I think you have. Who's drunk? Me?
Yeah, a little bit.
Me too. I'm on my like 5th or something.
On my 3rd. It's like these are like 6-7% beers.
I started drinking way before we even got onto this conversation.
After all, this show is called DJs and Beers. I'm sorry.
DJs and Sake.
David, how's the rest of your day? I mean, what's the time there in LA? I mean, you always do.
It's 2 p.m.
Okay, so how's the rest of your day for usually with DJs and Beers?
Honestly,
you go lie down.
Honestly, yeah.
Are you productive?
Last, I don't know how many episodes I've taken a nap after because I'm so buzzed. I have to like take a nap. Yeah.
Well, we
Arjun, what's the time in Goa right now?
yeah.
It's 3:50 a.m.
3:50.
Oh,
Yeah.
AM. Oh, wow.
I think we've overdid like 2 hours already.
Yeah.
We did like
Shit.
2 hours already. Arjun,
My
it's
bad.
it's been so amazing to have you as a guest. It's
But the time
really
goes
like
so fast, you know.
time goes so fast. It's
Yeah.
so many crazy, amazing things that you told us. I have one last question for you. It just kind of like circles back to the beginning. What's your favorite Nine Inch Nails album? What's your favorite Depeche Mode album?
Chris, you've like really got me because I'm actually very, very bad with names. I remember artwork, and that's even like when I play digitally as well on Tractor, and that's how I know what Tractor plays because of the artwork. I am so bad with names, but I was actually watching you guys. I mean, I was hearing you guys talk about them getting inducted in the Hall of Fame, and I actually watched Alessandro and all these and their conversation that they had on YouTube.
Ali. Woo! Ali, my heart is pounding when I see this. It's pounding right now.
I mean, I have a soft spot for all of them, but I think for me, Violator, because
Yeah.
Oh,
me
right,
too.
yeah, of course, yeah.
But same for me, Violator for sure.
and the first Nine Inch Nails album, Pretty Hate Machine.
Pretty Hate Machine, yes, yeah.
And on that note, Arjun, keep doing what you're doing. You are a beacon of light in India and globally. And, stay healthy, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah,
Amen.
absolutely. And thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Cheers, man.
to-
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank
to
you.
chat with
Thank
all
you
of
so
you.
much.
So much
Yeah,
fun. So much fun. I've had a
Do you have
great time.
anything? I mean, do you have anything to plug? Anything that's coming up? Music, streams, nothing? You're chilling?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, there's stuff happening, but fuck the plugs. I mean, this is
All right.
I've had such an amazing experience
Sure.
just chatting with all of you, and I've looked up to all of you all my life. So it's just so much fun to just like just do this.
I've got one plug, and if you want to switch off now, you can listen to David Truncate in the mix on
I'm
Mince
DJing right
FM.
now.
Are you
He's actually
getting
in the mix right now. So
right now? Yeah, I'm up now, so I'm gonna get into that.
It's FM.
Mince
Okay.
FM.
Cheers.
Thank
Well,
you,
good to
Arjun.
see everyone.
Take
Thank
care.
you so much for having me. Take
Have a
care,
good
please,
one,
guys.
man.
Stay safe. Big love. Thank
Take
you.
care. Peace.
Pleasure to meet you, Arjun.
Pleasure,
Thank you.
Chris.
Next
Pleasure.
week.
Pleasure.
Thanks, man.
Pleasure
Thank you.
is all mine.
Next week, we
Yeah,
have
man.
Douglas McCarthy from Night Red.
Whoa.
I was wrong in the
I'm
comments. Okay.
tuning in for that one.
I'm totally off, but
Ciao,
all right,
guys.
Ciao. Cheers.
Bye.